walks onto stage. Good whatever, lady and gentlemen. Vertigo. The film, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Starring James Stewart and Kim Novak. Released in 1958. Is today considered a film masterpiece. At the time, James Stewart playing the romantic lead was thought to have dampened the film's theatrical impact. Perhaps Frank Sinatra would have given Vertigo the rawness required for the psychological thriller Hitchcock wanted. James Stewart is best known for the film It's a Wonderful Life, another highly popular film. A role which mixes everyday goodness and inner torment, which should have helped rather than hindered his role in Vertigo. Perhaps it was the lack of redemption in the story which disappointed audiences. Oh dear, I almost forgot. Spoilers. Rolls eyes. Maybe Hitchcock should have allowed Scottie to save Judy from herself. With Scottie holding on to Judy, announcing his undying love for her. As the nun appears from the darkness. Embarrassed by her interruption, which looks to her as a lover's moment. Pauses. Would that have satisfied the audience of the day? Pauses. The poetic tragedy of Scottie losing the object of his love, twice. At the same location. For want of attention. Is Shakespearean. Pauses. To lose one lover through suicide may be regarded as misfortune, to lose two, carelessness. Smirks. What? Comedy and tragedy are two sides of the same coin. Rolls eyes. You want more? What about this one-sentence film review? Vertigo is a Hitchcock film about an ex-policeman who fails to prevent the suicide of his lover at the same location, twice. Smirks. Vertigo was inspired by a French novel, From Among the Dead is the English translation. It contains the basic plot of Vertigo, with Hitchcock relocating the story to contemporary San Francisco, California. Pauses. Vertigo is a ghost story, with a murder plot, which relies on believing a ghost story. Hitchcock's artistry is prominent in the film's storytelling, with a focus on unnerving the viewer, using visual and audio cues. The use of green and red within the film are applied boldly to convey subliminal messages and stimulate the senses. The murder plot relies on Scottie believing the ghost story of Madeleine being possessed by the spirit of her long-dead great-grandmother. A history of mental illness being the driving force to Madeleine's suicide. Pauses. Hitchcock frames actors within frames to convey multiple perspectives. Madeleine spends hours staring at a painting of her dead great-grandmother. Tying her hair in the same manner as seen in the painting. Carrying around a mixed pink posy of flowers. Not remembering where she has been. Pauses. Hitchcock alters the lighting and the background between shots. Unnerving the viewer on a subliminal level. In this shot, the dress the great-grandmother is wearing turns from violet to blue. The side room's contents switches from a dresser to a couple of small tables, with the large painting gone. The camera appears to be at the same angle as before, with the furniture magically shifted within seconds. Pauses. This might just be continuity problems. Laziness. Or the deliberate mixing of retakes to unnerve the viewer. Given Hitchcock invented the dolly zoom effect for Vertigo. The latter is most likely. Pauses. As you get older, the fear of heights increases, as do other fears. These are natural reactions to understanding one's own mortality to a deeper level. Have you ever looked out of the window on a tall building, then down? Pauses. Most staircases avoid winding, as seen in Vertigo, as they are a potential risk to life. Pauses. Vertigo uses unusual imagery. Scottie's dream sequence is used to convey his disorientation and severe anxiety. Scottie's subconscious, in its broken state, signals to him through random thoughts. Focusing on his relationship with Madeleine. Pauses. Lighting is used to great effect throughout the film. Unnervingly in the dream sequence. With the colors bleeding out into reality. Throughout the whole film. Pauses. Midge, Scottie's ex-girlfriend, who had rejected him, spends her time regretting her decision. Scottie spends his time moving on. Pauses. The discussion on the strapless bra is a good example. With the visuals of the bra tending towards Cupid's bow. Midge is trying to relight Scottie's interest in her as a woman. Pauses. Although, for Scottie, Midge has become a sister figure. Someone who he can rely on when feeling vulnerable. Pauses. Scottie's fear of heights is brought on by the death of a colleague who tried to save him but died. And who would have killed him had Scottie reached out and taken their hand. After his fall, Scottie looked down and on doing so, revealed to himself, or too clearly, his own mortality. Rolls eyes. Scottie's close call with death forces him to retire from the police force. Opening up the opportunity to play the patsy in a college chum's murder plot. Gavin Elster has become rich through marrying a woman called Madeleine, who, after her father's death and the rest of her family, has become surplus to requirements. Looks left. Should the death of so many family members raise eyebrows? Looks right. Here, be dragons. Moves on. Gavin sells Scottie a ghost story, stating that he thinks his wife is possessed by her grandmother's spirit and is quite mad. Gavin asks Scottie to follow Madeleine to corroborate, confirm his suspicions. Rolls eyes. Scottie takes on the task, and Gavin lets Scottie know who to follow. Without third-party confirmation that the woman he is following is indeed Madeleine Elster. This is perhaps the most striking narrative failure in Vertigo, given the police are unlikely to take someone's word for anything. In the 50s, anyway. Remember, the use of colors, red represents danger, and green represents a spiritual presence. Pauses. Scottie, after being given his mark, follows Madeleine around San Francisco. Madeleine drives a modern high-end, green Jaguar, and is oblivious to her surroundings. Oh look, a personalized number plate. Pauses. The infamous McKittrick Hotel disappearance is more of a misunderstanding than a mystery. Since Madeleine is Judy, the hotel receptionist does not know Judy, with Madeleine having rented the room and Judy in possession of a copy of the room's key. Having said that, Hitchcock called the scene a MacGuffin to help sell the audience the ghost story. Look here, you dead as a doornail director, keep your fucking mouth shut. Notice that Scottie is quite happy looking out of the window with no signs of acrophobia. And the McKittrick Hotel being Madeleine's great-grandmother's old place. Pauses. Madeleine ends up at the Mission Dolores Cemetery, where her great-grandmother, Carlotta Valdez, is buried. Pauses. During the scene, where Madeleine pays her respects to her dead great-grandmother, it is Scottie who becomes a ghost to Madeleine, as Scottie goes unseen, even when Madeleine is only a few feet away. This is all part of the suspense within the ghost story, which is being used in the murder plot. Or is it? Pauses. The plot thickens when Madeleine decides to go for a swim under the Golden Gate Bridge. Note, the Golden Gate Bridge is a suspension bridge, using the same physics as Midge's Wonder Bra. Smirks. Scottie jumps in after her and saves her life, so he believes. Scottie drives Madeleine back to his apartment, apparently stripping her naked and placing her unconscious body in his bed. Some think this is odd behavior. Scottie is a trained police officer and wants to keep Madeleine's suicide attempt quiet, so he can help her. Pauses. Madeleine wakes up, not knowing or remembering how she got there. Smirks. Scottie tells Madeleine that she jumped into the water and that he rescued her. Scottie offers her some coffee and some cushions by his fire. This brief encounter is enough to cement the friendship, even though Madeleine disappears without even a goodbye. Pauses. Following another chance encounter, Madeleine decides to join Scottie on his wanderings. Only one is a wanderer. Two together are always going somewhere. Scottie chooses to go to the ancient redwood forest near San Francisco, letting Madeleine drive. It is at the ancient redwood forest where there is a pivotal moment in the ghost story murder plot. Pauses. Somewhere in here I was born, and there I died. It was only a moment for you, you took no notice. Pauses. The tree rings Madeleine points to are 1831, and her death in 1857. With the outer ring of the dead tree being 1930. Although the fact Madeleine references her own death is enough for Scottie to get the point. Scottie loses sight of Madeleine shortly afterwards in an attempt to unnerve the audience. Pauses. Later in their wanderings, Madeleine rushes spontaneously towards the ocean, with Scottie frantically chasing after her. Once you have saved a person's life, you're responsible for it, forever. Ever. Pauses. Madeleine and Scottie end up at the San Juan Bautista Mission, the place in her dreams. It is here that Gavin waits in the bell tower, with the body of his wife, the real Madeleine, dressed in the same grey suit as Scottie's Madeleine. Madeleine must flee from Scottie to the bell tower to complete her part of Gavin's murder plot. It is clear, through Madeleine's reaction, that she was unaware that Gavin would be there, with the body of his dead wife. What compelled her to pretend to be Madeleine is never revealed. To help cure Scottie of his vertigo is likely. Certainly, his leap into the ocean was performed without hesitation. Could the bell tower have been sold to her as another test of Scottie's courage, overcoming his fear? With a real Mr. and Mrs. Elster waiting for Scottie in the bell tower to reveal all. In light of his remission. Pauses. Alas, whatever the ruse, the true intent was to hide the murder of the real Madeleine. Pauses. In Gavin's mind, an ex-policeman witnessing his wife's suicide would be enough to dispel any investigation into her untimely death. With her great-grandmother's fall from society, part of painting Madeleine's decline and eventual suicide, Scottie's inability to climb the stairs of the bell tower was an integral piece of Gavin's logic. If Scottie witnesses a successful suicide after an earlier attempt, nobody would question her fate. Pauses. Scottie is more traumatized than before and loses his logical thought processes to the madness of what he witnessed. In a frenzied dream sequence, Scottie's subconscious attempts to process the information his overwhelmed senses were fed. The necklace is highlighted and eventually used as the device that awakens Scottie the policeman from his slumber. This whole dream sequence is one long foreshadowing, with Carlotta Valdez's neck laced from the painting being the keystone to the murder revelation. Pauses. Was Carlotta Valdez Madeleine's great-grandmother, with Gavin Elster to signify it was he who had placed her story of madness into Scottie's mind? Or was the spirit of Carlotta Valdez showing Scottie the pieces of the murder jigsaw through the dream? Pauses. Does the empty grave signify that Scottie's Madeleine is not dead? Or is Madeleine's remembering of her dream reflecting in Scottie's dream? Pauses. Madeleine had never mentioned the rooftop or Scottie's distorted shadow shrinking like he was falling onto the roof, like Madeleine. Could Scottie's shadow on the roof of the San Juan Bautista mission be the foreshadowing of a Scottie who climbs the winding staircase to the bell tower only to see the body of his love lifeless on the roof? Once more. Pauses. Scottie rises from this confusing dream, not understanding the premonition. You know, when you have been Hitchcocked. Rolls eyes. One of the annoyances in Vertigo is the lack of markers indicating the passage of time. There is no reference how long it took Scottie to recover from his experience on the rooftop, where he discovered his vertigo. And there is only an indication of the passage of time between Madeleine's death and his recovery. Both appear to have taken between 6 to 12 months. Rolls eyes. Scottie's love for Madeleine is recognized by Midge, who explains to the doctor the seriousness of Scottie's predicament. Upon release from care, Scottie visits the places where he and Madeleine wandered. Separately. It is in front of the flower shop, where Scottie happens upon Judy in her green dress. Her appearance, which mirrors Scottie's initial inspection of Madeleine. As a voyeur. Pauses. Scottie follows Judy to her hotel, the Empire, and watches her at the window from the street as he had with Madeleine at the McKittrick Hotel. Pauses. On first viewing, the way in which Scottie imposes himself on Judy is quite abrasive. And you wonder why Judy does not call the manager or police to rid herself of this lascivious, older man. Understanding that Gavin, the same age as Scottie, had managed to coax Judy into pretending to be Madeleine, explains her hesitation. In the scene, she holds the phone behind her back. As Judy realizes, Scottie does not recognize her, only her resemblance to his recently dead lover. Her fear of discovery and confidence in being able to regain what was lost grows within that one scene. Pauses. Scottie accepts her identity as not Madeleine. Scottie is drawn to Judy because she scratches an itch in his mind, mentally, rather than physically. And this attracts Judy to him. Even though the whole situation is most likely to end in some kind of tragedy. Hitchcock gives the audience a full breakdown of the fragile situation in Judy's confession letter, which Judy tears up after hoping for the best. Rolls eyes. For a while, Judy gets to relive those heady days. Scottie, once attached, becomes obsessed with Madeleine. Rather than settling for the attractive young lady he found, Scottie turns Judy back into Madeleine, a persona she would rather forget under the circumstances. Sighs. Scottie only wants for Madeleine, even if it is at the superficial level. Pauses. When Madeleine emerges from the bathroom, Scottie is overcome. Pauses. The spirit of Madeleine has arisen. Pauses. In a modern film, there would have been a montage of lustful sex. In the 50s, the best the audience see is light passionate petting. Rolls eyes. There is a change of clothes for Judy, which indicates some passage of time. Judy is so excited that she forgets herself, placing the necklace of Carlotto Valdez around her throat. Pauses. Even asking Scottie to clasp it for her. It is when Scottie sees the necklace around her neck, he realizes, or at least suspects, that Judy pretended to be Madeleine. How else could she have obtained the necklace? Certainly, it could never have found its way into her hands since 1857. Having traveled from pawn shop to pawn shop and been given to Judy by some admirer. That would be too much of a coincidence for an ex-policeman. Smirks. Scottie drives Judy to the San Juan Bautista mission instead of to Eddie's for dinner, and confronts Judy about her necklace and her uncanny resemblance to Madeleine, on the pretense he is working through his acrophobia and the death of his lover. Scottie recounts his actions on that day, placing Judy in the role of Madeleine. James Stewart is awkward in the role of obsessed ex-policeman interrogating a murder accomplice. Pauses. Judy spills the beans, confessing to witnessing the murder of the real Madeleine by Gavin Elster, giving no defense to her participation in the revealed murder plot. As with the letter, Judy accepts her guilt, explaining Gavin's overarching plan to Scottie, which made him the patsy for the perfect murder. Pauses. I loved you so, I walked into danger, and let you change me, because I loved you. Oh, Scottie, please, you love me now, keep me safe. The fright of the nun in the darkness and Judy's fall from the bell tower suggests Gavin had threatened her life. Whether the nuns were in on the murder plot is up for debate. At the very least, Judy saw her only escape, leaving Scottie with double heartache. Had he only held on to his love? Pauses. The ghost story of Madeleine's great-grandmother, Carlotto Valdez, hooked Scottie. Gavin Elster was clearly a devious serial killer, likely to have murdered others, including Madeleine's mother and father. This is an obvious depth that escapes the surface of Vertigo. Judy plays her role and was unlikely to have understood or known of the murder plot. Gavin could have simply taken the opportunity of Scottie's retirement to reduce his own risk of discovery, with the rooftop incident having been reported on 6 to 12 months before Madeleine's 26th birthday. A key reference in the ghost story, and her descent into madness. This gives Gavin plenty of time to groom a Madeleine look-alike and plan the murder. Gavin could have easily told Judy of his friend's vertigo, with the only way to cure him being sudden shocks, such as Madeleine's attempted suicide, allowing Judy to be a willing participant in deception whilst concealing his true intent. Gavin must have been certain the winding stairway of the bell tower would overcome Scottie's senses. which was the case on his first encounter with them. Pauses. The posy of flowers from the painting play a pivotal role in the story within a story. Madeleine has them at the Golden Gate Bridge suicide attempt. And they are the reason Scottie spots Judy. Pauses. The copying of Carlotta Valdez's hairstyle from the painting helps the audience notice the link between painting and Madeleine, suggesting Madeleine's behavior is unusual or at least fixated on the woman in the painting. Yet, Madeleine confesses to Scottie that she had never been inside the Legion of Honor, where the painting resides, even though it was where she sat for hours. If you watch carefully, the exact hairstyle is not always present, only when Madeleine is pretending to be possessed by Carlotta Valdez. Pauses. It is the necklace, in painting, that undoes Judy. Had Judy discarded the necklace, the grey suit, and any other trinkets she had accumulated in the Madeleine deception, Scottie may have never found her out. Pauses. This is the ghost story within the ghost story. Without the murder plot ghost story, Scottie would never have known about the necklace. Pauses. It is the murder plot ghost story that leads Scottie to the untimely death of Carlotta Valdez, at the age of 26. The same age as Madeleine. Pauses. Madeleine's trance-like state at the Golden Gate Bridge is iconic filmography. San Francisco's landscape plays a cinematic role in Vertigo's legendary status. Pauses. Madeleine claims she fell into the water, even though Scottie saw Madeleine jump in. Judy must have been sure Scottie was watching before her jump. Pauses. So that he had enough time to prepare to rescue her, overcoming his fear of heights in doing so. Pauses. Taking her unconscious body back to his apartment is commented on as creepy. It is not like his apartment was around the corner. Pauses. Stripping an unconscious woman naked after rescuing them was not the done thing. In It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey only takes off his own shoes and socks to dry out. Madeleine's reaction to being naked in a stranger's bed is odd for a married woman in the 50s, suggesting she was not all that unconscious. Pauses. Scottie treats the situation in a gentlemanly manner, although his behavior suggests that he is serving his own interests, rather than the interests of Gavin or Madeleine. Pauses. On first watching Vertigo, it is unclear why Madeleine drives around, or why Scottie follows her, with frustration. On second watching, it is clear Madeleine does not, or pretends not, to know her way to Scottie's apartment. Scottie's presence must be ghost-like to Madeleine, as it is clear that Scottie was following her. When Scottie meets her at his apartment, the two behave flirtatious, rather than rescuee and rescuer. Pauses. Possession must be an aphrodisiac. There is no Dana, only Zool. Rolls eyes. The climatic ending of Vertigo ties all the pieces together, with the dream sequence being a pivotal reveal in the lead up to the conclusion. As I will reveal, the audience knows Judy was involved, making the ending more like Columbo than murder mystery. We see the deaths of Madeleine and Judy repeated in the same setting. One a murder, the other a suicide, both depriving Scottie of his lover. In both cases. Pauses. It's too late. It's too late. There's something I must do. No, walk me to the car. Let me go. No, you don't understand. Look, it's not your fault. I love you, Scottie. I love you, but it's too late. Please, let me go. Pauses. Judy is conflicted, as she will later be in her hotel room at the Empire. Run or stay, and face the consequences. For a moment, Judy wanted Scottie to take her away. Pauses. How would this have affected Gavin's murder plot? It would not have affected it, other than depriving Gavin of a witness to Madeleine's death. Gavin and the dead Madeleine are waiting in the bell tower. Gavin would only need to wait a while and toss Madeleine's body from the bell tower. Rolls eyes. Scottie's acrophobia, on the other hand, had it been overcome on that day, would have ended him. Pauses. Had Scottie pursued Madeleine with vigor, she would have been saved. And Gavin's plot foiled. Well, at the very least, discovered. Pauses. Instead, Scottie witnesses his lover fall. Pauses. Her lifeless corpse splayed out on the bell tower's roof. Pauses. Scottie claims he blacked out until he found himself back at his apartment. That's 90 miles of blackout, which is 6 days of walking. 3 days if he finds public transport. Pauses. Judy's second death is harder to understand. Murdering your wife for money is understandable. In a thriller. Jumping out of a bell tower after declaring your love, again, less understandable. Pauses. Scottie looks bemused, rather than scared on seeing the nun. Pauses. With the nun, not even commenting. What, another one? Rolls eyes. Hitchcock clearly directs James Stewart to stand on the ledge, like a plonked car. Pauses. So Scottie's stance matches the pose seen in the dream sequence. Pauses. This is where all the pieces fall into place. The imagined world, casting a shadow on the real world. The ghost story, with a murder plot, which relies on believing a ghost story. Pauses. Peace, I am out of here, word up. Exits stage left.